Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here. We're going into SEC Hoops Power Rankings heading into the middle of January. We always start at the bottom. Blake, we had a little debate on this, but South Carolina, our number 14 team, Ole Miss 13. Carolina has had one of the crazier weeks that you will ever see, sandwiching 40-point blowouts at home around a win in Lexington. I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like that.
Yep. Probably my guess is that's never happened before in the SEC. With Kentucky, with a win at Kentucky in the middle of that, my guess is that's never happened before. But yes, South Carolina stays at 14. I know you can say, well, they've got a SEC win, Ole Miss doesn't, but Ole Miss also has wins over Florida Atlantic, Stanford, Temple. South Carolina has a win over Clemson, which is nice, but Ole Miss doesn't have the 40-point blowouts, and I think that's maybe the difference. And if you love the computers, Chris loves the computers. I don't always love them, but there is a significant gap between Ole Miss and South Carolina. So,
well, I love them a little less than I normally do, but sometimes they do have some things for us. We've been talking about that with Florida all year.
I mean, look here. Think about this too. Ole Miss, 4 of their 5 losses they're 10 points or less in SEC play. So I mean,
yeah,
they've been close, right? And so I think there's that's worth considering.
Yeah, the Rebels, the only team in the league yet to win a game in conference play, and Carolina and Ole Miss both 8-9. They're the only 2 teams below 500 overall. Okay, we get to number 12, and this is the lowest we've had these guys all year, but it's LSU, just because LSU has been getting clocked of late.
Well, I mean, let's keep that in context. They got clocked against Alabama. I don't know that you can say
they lost
clocked.
double figures to Florida.
But I mean, it's 13 and 11. That's not getting clocked. I mean, come on, let's not go too far in that direction with LSU. But here's exactly what I was going to say. You kind of have led me to my point. If they don't get beat by 40 at Alabama, they're probably not in the spot. So the fact is, they just got, they ran into Alabama on the wrong, kind of scenario there, with just how well Alabama's playing. So LSU's probably not in the spot if they don't get beat like that. So yes, that kind of ties into both of our points. But I mean, they're 1-4 in the league now. Feels like a long time from when they beat Arkansas, and it doesn't get any easier, right? We talked about the schedule, Chris. We said it going in. Up next, Auburn and Tennessee, and then at Arkansas, then at Missouri, home against Bama, at Mississippi State. Now they even won against Texas A&M, which we thought made the schedule ease up a little bit. Does not. I don't even know when their schedule eases up. It doesn't ease up till maybe February 18th against South Carolina.
Yep, because Georgia away now is no pushover.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, not ideal for South Carolina, who I was kind of hanging on to there as a team that I thought was better than
LSU.
Yeah, whatever, LSU. Yeah. Look, this set of power rankings is easily going to be our worst of the season because there's no way to properly figure out where to put these teams unless we just use the computers, which I refuse to do. So,
all right, coming in at 11, Vanderbilt, which has played well of late, in addition to a win over Arkansas and Nashville. A 3-point loss
11
2 Saturdays ago.
11. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
But this is where we get in. This is where we get into a jumbled mess of teams. I think between 5 or 6 and 11, it's hard to sort these out. Well, where Vanderbilt hurt itself was just by not doing anything in the pre-conference portion, right? Because when you look at this, you do take recency bias into account, but Vanderbilt just didn't put up a resume of any sort before conference play. It got beat by Grambling. Some of that's got to count too. Very nice win for Vandy over Arkansas, but the Commodores, and they will have their chances, need to start stacking some wins before, in my mind, they deserve to be a lot higher. Now, I say that. I think you could also argue Vanderbilt ahead of a few teams in front of them. This was not easy for us to sort out these next half dozen teams or so.
So everyone knows Chris is following the computer so far. He's 4 for 4 here on how the computers have them ranked. Yes, you're 4 for 4 on the rankings. I'm just joking with you, but
I did not much consult the computers on this.
Well, I'm just saying. I just want to point that out. But I mean, look, I had Vanderbilt a little bit higher, but you know what? Recency bias does come into play. my probably thinking was, hey, they've kept a lot of games close and they've been right there against everybody. They just blew out Arkansas. And they didn't really blow them out, I guess. They clocked them, as Chris would say.
Clocked them.
But no, I'm not going to argue that much. I did have them a little bit higher, but look, I mean, again, it's like, what do close losses account for? What do close wins account for? Vanderbilt's that team that you could just try to wrap your head around. You have no idea maybe what to do with them.
Doesn't matter who they play, it's going to be close.
Yep. So we'll see if that's the case with Bama. If it is, they'll keep moving up. So there you go. That's fine. Vanderbilt 11.
Yeah. Commodores 9-8, and the next one up, Mississippi State, which is 12-5. But to borrow my favorite word, well, no, the State hasn't gotten clocked lately. It did against Tennessee. That's been a couple of weeks now. The Georgia and Auburn losses weren't that much, but State just can't score and can't shoot foul shots, and that's really hurting the Bulldogs right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've got the win against Ole Miss sandwiched in there, but that's the only win they've had since December 17th. They're going on a month here. They got to win in a month, and I mean, it's not been an easy schedule. It doesn't get any easier. They got Tennessee and Florida up next, and they got to go to Alabama, and they got TCU. It's a good team. So, yeah, I mean, schedule just does not let up for them either. And the scoring problems, I think, are just going to continue to be an issue. And so, yeah, I just we'll see. Maybe they bounce back against Tennessee. I think right now the scoring issues just don't give you a lot of confidence. Even if their defense does, scoring just doesn't. So for them to fall this low, yeah, probably not that surprising. So,
no, Blake, if I just followed the computers, I would have had this next team higher. That's Florida, which is 44 in Ken Palm as of this morning. Florida playing well of late. Wins over Georgia, LSU, and Missouri. 2 of those at home. We've said all year the computers like the Gators more than we did. Now, the strange thing is I've been bigger on Florida the last couple of years than you've been. And I feel like this is kind of switched, but the Gators may be figuring some things out here of late. It'll be very interesting. Very good defensive team. I still think shooting is a thing that has really hurt Florida the last few years, and I don't know that I see a definitive solution there. Will Richards has been shooting the ball really well. They've got some other nice complementary players that we talked about in our recap video. But anyway, where we settled on the Gators was at 10.
You know what you've started here, Chris, because we know who number 9 is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
You have started an absolute – I did not in my rankings. I did not want to start this. I didn't, but it looks like we're gonna start it because we know who 8's going to be. But, yeah, I mean, the Gators, I think they're playing a lot better. I think you can just see it with how they're playing. And when you really think about it, 3-point loss to Auburn on the road, 3-point loss to A&M at home. Florida's a couple plays here or there from being 5-0 in the league. And, maybe more so than anyone in terms of just that stretch of just those 2 games, those first 2, just not being able to find a way to pull them out. But I think they've come a long way from the team that, did not look good 1st of December in that range and just looked like they were really struggling. They're figuring some things out, and, we'll see how they navigate this upcoming stretch because I think they got some winnable games, also got some games they can lose on the road. So I think they're playing better though, and that's encouraging, I think, for the Gators given where they were about a month or so ago.
Number 8, the Georgia Bulldogs. Who would have thought we had Georgia at number 8?
But Florida beat Georgia, Chris.
Oh, you're just going to give it to me for this, aren't you?
No, again, it's full body of work. It's not one-on-one.
Well,
games.
If I went by computers, I would have Florida, as you always accuse me of doing. I would have Florida ahead of Georgia. I do not. Georgia's 3-1 in the league. That is 5th overall. Ken Palm, by the way, has got Georgia finishing 9-9 in the league. Who would have thought that one?
I would have thought that because I said he's probably going to get them to he's going to get them to 500.
That's what he does every year.
Right. They will be 500. I guarantee you. And here they are on track. So,
yeah, a lot of teams getting pulled towards the middle. I'm looking at Ken Palm's projections, which is kind of what we had last year. But anyway, Georgia playing really well. 13-4 under Mike White, coming off a 6-win season last year under Tom Crean. So before we get to the
hold on, Chris,
top 7, I will let you make your comment.
Georgia has lost 1 basketball game since December the 7th. 1. That's it. I mean, look at what they're doing right now, right? Unreal. Mike White, man. What a basketball coach. Sorry, Florida fans. I'm just kidding with you. We're just playing fun here.
Before we get to the top half, betting $11 to win 10 stinks. With BROTHROW, you bet 10 to win 10. It lets you bet on all 50 states because it's not the house. Bettors have a fair chance at winning. It is the only sports betting platform that doesn't take a cut of every bet. No deposits, no minimum bets, no need to connect your bank account. Bettors pay each other directly. It's a hassle-free sign-up process that gets you in the action in seconds. Go to brothrow.com/SE14. Once you're there, ask to join our private group. We'll let you in. You can have some fun with us there. All right, the number 7 team in our countdown. And again, none of this was clear. Arkansas at 7. Clearly the lowest the Hogs have been all year, but Arkansas has now lost 3 in a row by double figures. It is 1-4 in the league. And, I mean, you don't completely discount what Arkansas did earlier in the year with some really nice wins, but it's a different team.
And that's why recency bias, I think, matters more so with Arkansas than other teams because it's a different team now. And I think you have to factor that in. And that's what I did in my rankings. I just think you have to kind of factor that in sometimes. And I was surprised to look up and be like, I think we're going to have Arkansas at 7. But I'm like, I mean, I think at best you could put them at 6 right now. At best, they're not in the top 5. And again, you could certainly argue, I think, them ahead of the team in front of them. But I don't know. When you look at it, though, again, just kind of how the makeup is and where they are. As we said, Chris, their last 3 SEC losses have been by double figures. And, not been an easy slate, especially playing a Vanderbilt team that just did everything right. But yeah, it's not a great trajectory here for the Hogs. We talked about this in other videos. We won't go too far into it, but they've got to figure some things out. And I just think with the unknowns and consistency of the rotation, I don't know how quickly they figure it out. But I don't know. We've said they've been here before, right? They've been here before in the Muss era. 0-3 last year, 2-4 the year before in the SEC. And at some point they figure it out, and maybe they will this season. We'll see.
Well, I think the difference is I don't think they've got the shooting they had those last 2 teams. Just not sure that I see it from this bunch.
Well, I think the difference is like last year, right? You had a JD Note who could just
get you offense. Year,
yeah, and then again the Nick Smith thing, we're not gonna go into that again, but it's like that's the difference. And Brazil, I mean, we said I think the Brazil injury is just as significant as anything because
look, any team in the league, you lose you could argue that's their 2 most valuable players. I don't know that I would. I mean, you got Ricky Council in there. You've got Anthony Black, but 2 of their best.
They're 2 any other team of the most league, different players from a skill. They don't have anyone else on the roster that has the skill set of Nick Smith and Trevon Brazil. And I think that's
and not many people have those skill sets either. They are special players, and you take 2 players of that stature off any team in this league, and I think any of those teams would come crumbling down to the middle of the pack. Is that fair?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. Those are 2 top 10 players in the league. Like, I mean, with how Brazil was playing, I wouldn't even hesitate to put him in that category, right? So, like, yes, I think that's kind of the way you look at it, probably. So,
our only tie in the countdown, and God help you if you know what to do with especially one of these teams right now. We got Kentucky and Missouri tied at 5th. Missouri's, I'm not going to say in a little bit of a tailspin, but not playing at the level it was when it was demolishing Illinois, and who else was their other big win in there? I'd have to look that up. But anyway, Kentucky, that's right.
Which is why I think it's an interesting,
right.
I mean, like you said, I mean, Missouri's doing what a lot of other teams do in college basketball, right? They're losing road games. Didn't play great at A&M, but played fine at Arkansas, played fine at Florida. So I don't know. I think that they're still okay, but as we said, this is an important week because in all honesty, they really need to get one of these home wins against Arkansas or Bama, which one of those is looking more, percentage wise as a easier win than the other. But Yeah, I mean, I think they really need this. You don't want to be 2-5 going up against an Ole Miss team on the road that who knows what their record will be, and just kind of in desperation mode, perhaps. So, yeah, it's a crucial week for Missouri here, I think, especially against either team. Like I said, if they can just get a huge win at home, that'd be nice. But Kentucky, man, I'm just, I look at them and I will be honest with you, like I had Kentucky at 4 in mind because, and I know that's ahead of A&M, and A&M fans aren't gonna like that.
I can't go there yet.
Well, that's the thing, right?
They've beaten one team that's going to the NCAA tournament right now, and I think that matters.
I get it, and that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, I'm fine with that. But I do think winning at Tennessee carries a lot of weight. Does it carry more weight than what we saw the 16 games before? That is certainly a fair argument, especially the South Carolina one, as we said. It's going to stand out like a sore thumb at the end of the season. So yeah, I mean, it's what you do with these teams in here. I think, and obviously, I think we all know who number 4 is going to be. It's going to be A&M. And A&M fans may think that's still too low. Hey, and maybe
I don't think there's an argument to put A&M higher at this point.
I'm just pointing out their argument. Could be we're 4-0 in the league, and I get that. So, and they look the way they beat South Carolina. As I said, sometimes it tells me how you win more so than anything, and that was one where they went in playing a team that's coming as confident as can be, coming off Kentucky game, and they just took it to them. So this is an interesting mix. We don't want to spend a lot of time on this range because, as we said, I think you put all these teams in a lot of different order. But Missouri has a big week ahead. Kentucky, certainly an opportunity here because who's Kentucky play, right? They play Georgia and they play A&M on Saturday. So we'll settle it there for the Kentucky A&M spot, perhaps.
All right, we were unanimous in our top 3. Auburn 3, Tennessee 2, Alabama 1, and I think outside of A&M or maybe Missouri, well, and you wouldn't put any of those teams in the top 3 at this point. I think it's hard to argue otherwise for these top 3, especially with Auburn starting to play better. I mean, we had some ambiguity with Tennessee and Alabama perhaps a week ago. I think we still put Alabama first without a lot of yeah. But I mean, but you could argue it, right? The computers had Tennessee higher.
No,
Tennessee
I don't think so anymore, Chris.
Well, no, my point is, if you had the thought of separation a week ago,
okay,
you don't really you don't really if you had a problem with how to separate these teams a week ago, I don't think you do after the way these teams played this past weekend.
Yeah, I don't think, like you said, we were kind of saying 1A, 1B until I think we started to just kind of say, look, I think Alabama's the best team. But now I think it's pretty clear that Alabama's just on a different level. And again, we say all this knowing that they have a trip to Vanderbilt that is always scary ahead. But yeah, I think this is the top 3, and I think this is the order you put them in. It's like the Tennessee Kentucky thing, which we can overreact. Maybe I do a little bit to the Kentucky winning at Tennessee, but it was maybe it's because we were just starving for something from Kentucky, or just like give us anything to make us think that you can still do this season. But with Tennessee, I don't think you really drop them because they were that close. We felt like to Alabama a week ago, and so yeah, I think this is the order. And Auburn's kind of the team sitting there at 3 that really has not gone anywhere this season. I mean, I don't mean that in the negative sense. Like they've just kind of been hanging around there, just kind of waiting to keep moving up this list. And as we said, got a really good chance. I think with the way the schedule sets up, could be 8-0, could be 7-1 in the SEC, somewhere in there if they can win a couple of these road games. So yeah, you got to feel pretty good if you're the Tigers right now, because they're playing better and they're finding ways to win, and that's all that matters at this point in the season. So
I want to point out something on Tennessee. Tennessee's still the number 1 adjusted defensive efficiency team by a pretty good margin, by 3.5 points.
Yeah.
Over Rutgers, which is number 2. Raw efficiency, Tennessee giving up 78.8 points per 100 possessions. That is unbelievable. Let me give you by contrast. Number 7 is St. Mary's, which is giving up 88.7 points. Look, think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
The number 7 defensive team in the country is giving up 10 more points per 100 possessions in Tennessee, and that's playing in an easier league.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not like they were bad against Kentucky either. Let's keep that in mind.
No,
like they lost that game, but
.91.
They were good. I mean, they were still pretty
Right.
good. Kentucky still had to earn their points. Yeah. So, yeah. So there you go. I mean, that's like we say, guys. I mean, beyond 3, I think there's a lot of debate. And maybe say 4 if you put A&M there, and just kind of the trajectory they're on. But, whew, yeah, it's tough. I mean, I said beyond 3, 4 maybe, and above 13, 14. This league's wild. As we kind of pointed out with using the transitive property, right, of the Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, A&M that we use there for that. So we'll see how things play out moving forward.
All right, predictions coming. We'll have them on every single SEC basketball game in conference all year. Of course, we'll do that for the postseason too. Best way to get those, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button too, if you don't mind. If you like this, that helps us out, helps us get found. He's Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. We're Southeastern 14, and we'll see you again soon.